What's going on, YouTube? Appreciate you tuning in. If you are new to the channel, I want to say welcome. This is a great place to learn about your purpose, to delve into some pretty deep topics and controversial things. So if that's what you're looking for, this is the place. And we're going to jump right in today. There was something that came across my mind. And I hope you guys can hear me. The air is on behind me. Let me know in the comments if it's too loud. But something that came across my mind today, and this is something I've been thinking a lot about, is sometimes people get so stuck in what they're doing, right? They identify their job or their occupation with themselves, right? You know, most of the time we say, if we work in accounting, like, I'm an accountant, right? That's how we kind of think about ourselves. Or if you work as a policeman, right? I work in law enforcement, or, I'm law enforcement. If you're a banker, I'm a banker. If you're a mechanic, I'm a mechanic. And guys, I want you to think of something when it comes to these things, especially if you're young, right? Your job does not make you, right? And you're never going to find your full purpose and fulfillment in your job. Now, hold on, because some people are going to be listening and going, Nate, you don't get it. I found my purpose. My purpose is to be a doctor or a veterinarian, right? Or to code, right? To be a computer coder, or to be a fitness coach, or, you fill in the blank, right? I get it. I totally get it, guys. I've been there. But you have to realize the most important thing you can do is find purpose outside of your job, right? And this is why. Most people, they view their job as a way to make money. And again, the way that they identify their life, right? So everything kind of revolves around a job. But I want you to zoom out for a second, and I want you to really think about this. When you work a job, most people, right? Most people are not what you would call financially free, right? They're not financially independent. Most people do not have the means to just walk away from a job and to live the way they want to live, or to live, with a roof over their head, food on the table, things like that. Most people have to work, right? And there's nothing wrong with this. We need to think of ourselves, in a sense, as modern day slaves. I know it's a weird way to think about it, right? But you have a boss, right? You have someone telling you what to do. If you don't do it, you're going to get fired. If you get fired, you're not going to have money to pay for the food that you need, or rent, things like that. Maybe you are going to have some people who can help out, right? The Lord's always going to provide. Okay, I can speak to this myself. I've been in some pretty rough situations, right? I've been in some pretty crazy situations that only God has got me out of. That being said, you have to identify something in your life that's more important than making money, all right? And this is what I wanted to really talk about. When you make money, you need to realize why you're making money, what you're doing it for, right? Yes, to take care of yourself. Ultimately, though, I truly believe your goal, especially as a man, should be to take care of other people, right? It's good to store up for your children and your children's children, right? Your grandchildren. It says this in Proverbs, right? And this is just something that's really good to think about, because if you only think about yourself and only think about maybe your current family, it's easy to be in this mode of, all right, now's the only thing that matters. I'm not going to store up for tomorrow. I'm not going to do what I have to do to build a family legacy, to maybe have some stability for my family and for the future of my family. So find something outside of your job that's important to you, right? This is why on this channel I talk about finding some sort of a side gig, right? Something that you're good at, right? It could be making YouTube videos, maybe not like this, but maybe you're good at doing other things, right? You're good at fixing things, you're good at creating things, you're good at tutorials, you're good at storytelling, right? There's so many things you could do just with like YouTube, right? You grind it out for 5 or 10 years, you're probably going to do pretty well for yourself. It could also come in other forms, right? You could invest your time into maybe creating an actual business or a product, right? There's a lot of different ways you could go about this. Be wary of get rich quick schemes, of course, right? There's a lot of people out there promising you false hope and overnight success, and that's just not going to happen. The diligent hand will prosper, right? Another thing I want to talk about when it comes to jobs, right? If you were young, especially, and I would say even for people in their 30s, 40s, man, even 50s, right? I mean, goodness, even people in their 60s, right? If their health is good and beyond. Think of all the things you want to do and try to do them. This ties back into the job. Do not let your job lock you down. Do not let it define you. Do not let it keep you isolated, right? I see so many people, I know people, right? Their job is their life, okay? This goes beyond workaholism, right? This is like their whole identity, their whole lifestyle revolves around their job. Most people, they feel lucky enough to land a job, and so they feel like they're only going to be able to keep this job and they're not worth anything above it, right? They're not worth switching jobs or looking into other jobs. They feel like they owe their company or their boss, or they feel indebted in some way. And unless you inherit some sort of family business, you really don't owe anybody anything, okay? These people, your bosses, the people above you in power, right? Yeah, they might have your best interest in mind, all right? Some do, some don't. At the end of the day, they have someone over them that they have to answer to. And if it comes down to it, you could be cut from your job. You could be let go, right? Even if you're on good terms, it happens every single day. So don't limit yourself, right? Especially when you're young. Once upon a time, I was very young, right? I was in my mid to later teenage years, and I was thinking about these things like, I have to have all the answers now. I have to find my future career right now. I have to find the job, the occupation I'm gonna do for the next 40 years of my life at 16. Guys, it didn't happen. What I did was I went for the things that I felt called to. The things that I thought would have the most growth, that would have the most return, right? So I did a lot of different things, guys. Many, many things in my life, right? Just to give you a quick little snippet, right? Something to relate to. When I was young, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And then later on in my teenage years, I started thinking about it, praying about it, and realized, okay, I want to join the military. So I went to the reserves, right? And then afterwards, after I came back from training, I went to college. When I was at college, I worked some jobs. I graduated college, then I did other jobs. I completely 180'd, right? My degree, criminology, ended up not wanting to go that route, ended up wanting to do more business, sales type of stuff, right? So I was in sales for a couple of years. Sales was fun, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. I was good at it. I was making a pretty good amount of money, but the purpose wasn't there, right? At the end of the day, right? And with sales, again, you got to be very careful because most of the time it revolves around money. And unless you have a really good product with a really good company and something you really believe in, guys, it's going to be tough, right? That's why, if you are a believer, right, having a solid ethical business that doesn't prey upon people's insecurities or manipulate people or go against the word of God is very difficult, right? And so it can be done, right? But you have to be aware of these things. And so money wasn't it, right? So it's like I started making this money and that wasn't what I wanted to do, right? And then there's more to the story. There's some other things, right? But guys, I worked as a mover. I worked at Target. I worked fast food. I worked as a dishwasher. I worked as a facilities person, right? Someone who goes around a building and makes sure everything's, up to code, up to date, things are working correctly, right? I did a lot of stuff and it was fun, right? And I did all these things with a goal in mind that I wanted to take it to the top. Basically, I wanted to excel at it. And some things I excelled at, some things not so much. Some things I found out just wasn't for me, right? And that's something that you have to figure out along the way. And that's why when you're young, a lot of people are going to tell you one thing, right? They're going to tell you, oh, you need to make sure you have stability. Stability is important, but don't limit yourself, right? If you end up getting into a job that pays you good money that you kind of just get by with and it is what it is, guys, I'm sorry to say, but there's probably something else out there that's going to be better for you. Now, if you end up in a position, right? This is why I said this at the beginning. If you end up in a position, let's say you've always wanted to be a policeman, and that's what you're going to go for, guys, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Some people, that is what they're called to do. That's what they're going to do for 40 years, right? We need good policemen, good doctors, people in the military, firemen, mechanics. We need people doing the trades, building things, right? We need trash men. We need janitors, guys. I was a janitor at 8 years old. Me and my family had to clean a church when I was 8 years old. My little brothers were even younger. This wasn't just stacking chairs and wiping off tables. This was cleaning a church from top to bottom twice a week for 10 years, right? People coming up and asking you if you can clean up their mess, right? And by mess, you can only imagine what that means, right? So don't limit yourself by your job. Your job does not define you. I know I said that you shouldn't find your purpose in your job, right? But sometimes that's how it's going to be for some people. What I'm saying is make sure you live your life outside of your job. Find enjoyment, because again, you never know if that job is going to last. You never know if you're going to be capable of performing that job. Make sure you have things that you're building outside of it, right? With your community, with people, with the thing you've always wanted to do, right? That thing that just brings you life and brings others life, right? Brings value to others. And find a job ultimately, guys, if you can, right? I get it. Sometimes you have to work a job to make ends meet. I mentioned I was a dishwasher at a fast food restaurant. That was about 3 years ago, right? Fell upon some tough times. I had to work a job to make some money for a few months while I worked my job at sales. And then for about, a couple months, I was doing both jobs. It was crazy, right? I was working sometimes 7 days a week. It was nuts. But sometimes that's what you have to do, right? And God will give you the strength to get through it. He'll also provide a way, right? Don't burn yourself out. We're not meant to burn ourselves out and run ourselves into the ground, right? We're not meant to constantly live in survival mode unless it truly gets to that point of, persecution and things like that. But God is good. God is very good. He will provide a way for you. He will make a way in the wilderness. All right. So when you're young, like I said, or even if you're old, don't limit yourself to your occupation and your job. Work a bunch of different jobs, right? Unless you just find that one thing that's like, oh, this is what I was made to do, right? But again, don't limit yourself. Do things outside of it. But work a lot of different jobs. Don't feel tied down to something. This is where I see a lot of, especially young men, feel trapped because they try one job or two jobs, it doesn't work out, and they get discouraged. They feel like nothing's going to work out for them. Guys, keep trying, keep doing things. The cool thing is all the jobs that you do are going to build skill sets along the way. Even if it's customer service, even if it's something, minute or whatever, right? Or what you think is minute, it's going to build skills. It's going to build the ability to interact with people in those fields, right? To understand things, right? That you might not have known if you never worked that job before. A lot of people take the world for granted and the people who work for granted because they don't understand how it is. So work a lot of different jobs if you can, right? Keep trying things until something clicks. And you'd be surprised, guys, you'll have a lot of stories, you'll have a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, a lot of social skills, really. You'll be able to relate to a lot of people. And I'm going to end the video with this, guys. I don't try to get so caught up on earthly success, right? I think it's important. I think some people tend to throw it by the wayside and just completely ignore it. And that is very dangerous because you don't want to be so poor that you steal or that you become desperate or that you're always, that you're always anxious, right? That you're always depressed, because if you're a believer, I believe that God is making a way for his people, right? And I've said this before on another video, but if you keep finding yourself screwing up, especially like financially, normally it's because there's something in your life that's a stumbling block. There's something in your life that you're not getting over, whether maybe it's an addiction, whether it's maybe you're not forgiving someone in your heart, right? We don't tend to think of it like this, but sometimes, most of the time, I've at least experienced this in my life, this is how it is. So learn to let go. The Lord wants you to be set in him. He wants you to be fulfilled in him. That way you are responsible as his child with earthly things, right? So remember to enjoy your life. Remember to not identify with your job, to do a lot of different things, right? To figure out how to do a lot of different things, to interact with a lot of different people. And guys, I promise you'll find more meaning in this than just locking on to one thing, right? You're gonna want to explore life. You're gonna want to figure out how the world works around you. That's one of the biggest regrets people have on their deathbeds, is they wish they would have spent more time, with the people they loved, doing the things that they wanted to do. People die on a deathbed of regrets. So don't be that person who's like, man, I wish I would have done this. Man, work towards it, right? Work towards it. Have a purpose, have a goal in mind. Have something in your mind that's like, hey, you know what? Even if it's crazy, right? Like, okay, I want to take a trip to Europe. Some people think it's really cliche, but if you want to do that, man, save up enough money, go to Europe, right? If you feel called to do something, I'm going to end the video with this. If you feel called to do something, go for it, right? I mean, I'm in a position right now I thought I'd never be in, but it's exactly where I believe God wants me to be, because it's where I feel called to be. It doesn't feel like, a super exciting feeling, like a rush, right? Don't get caught up in the emotions, and especially the highs and lows. And I'm not depressed, right? I'm not like down in the dumps, like questioning everything. It's like, okay, I'm trusting in you, God. I know you got this figured out. I know you have me here for a reason. I'm following you. And life is easy. Life is like on easy mode, guys. You're just gliding through life when you are walking in God's will. So just shut off all the distractions, pray, ask God for wisdom, ask him to open doors, and he's going to put these ideas, he's going to put these things in your heart. He's going to open doors. He's going to make things make sense to you, and then you'll start to find your purpose. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, most of the time that's not at your job, although you'll have the opportunity to witness at your job. You'll be able to do great things at your job, and maybe you'll be working at that job for a long time. But remember, the kingdom of heaven, right, is in our hearts. And there's a spiritual need, right? There's something deeper than this world. There's something deeper than the occupations and the jobs of this world. So keep that in mind, guys. That's all I have for you today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And Lord willing, I'll see y'all in the next one.